What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? Noah Gray here, tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Josh's channel and check out showmefootball.com for more.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fann of showmefootball.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. He's Michael D'Arcy of KC Sports Report, and a player recently threw some shade at the city of Kansas City. We're going to talk about it right after this. Ladies and gentlemen of the Chiefs Kingdom, welcome back into another video on my channel. Today I'm joined by my good friend Michael D'Arcy of KC Sports Report, and we are going to do a little bit of ranting today in this video because Kansas City is a little bit fired up after Detroit Lions wide receiver Amon-Ra St. had some comments towards Kansas City the other day on his podcast. This post is from Starcade Media, but they put the quote into a graphic. This is from the Amon-Ra St. podcast that he does. He was talking to former Iowa State wide receiver Jalen Noel in his podcast, and he said, "I've been to Kansas City. I was there for the draft. Bro, I'm sorry. If you have money, I'm not living here after I get some money." Now, Michael, I'm really glad I have you on this video today to talk about this because Kansas City was a little bit up in arms after Amon-Ra St. had these comments. And a lot of the frustration, I think, is not so much that he criticized Kansas City, but he's kind of throwing stones from a glass house because you live in Detroit, buddy. And Michael, you've been to both Detroit and obviously are in Kansas City, so you can attest to this. How crazy are these Amon-Ra St. comments about Kansas City?
Josh, I was just waiting for you to cut me loose. I mean, I cannot believe that Amon-Ra St. is sitting back in his chair and basically just took a big old dump on the city of Kansas City when he lives in Detroit, Michigan. And listen, I will say first and foremost, if we have any listeners watching from Detroit, Detroit was better than I expected. I will say Detroit was actually better than I thought, but it's better than I thought in the same way that if you get rear-ended and your car's not completely totaled, it's like, oh, like your car's not completely effed up, but it's still broken. And again, it's no like shade at Detroit, but how you can say that Kansas City is just like, it's basically like, I'm not going to say that, but like you can't compare Kansas City to this godforsaken place. And then you reside in Detroit, where I went there. I covered the NFL draft. I was in Detroit for a good 3 or 4 days, and the people were very nice. It was a clean city for the weekend that I was there.
But you have to consider, how much they cleaned up and rolled out the red carpet just because the draft was coming.
Josh, every homeless person within a 5-mile radius, go somewhere else other than here, buddy. Like, I'm telling you, like, and we did that for the draft as well. But I feel like, again, comparing, like, if we're comparing Detroit to Kansas City is Vegas. Kansas City is like New York City compared to Detroit. Detroit is a city that was booming in like the 40s and the 50s. Ford was there and still is there. But outside of that, they got a bad baseball team most of the time. They're actually pretty good. Detroit sports teams, for the most part, have sucked.
Well, Detroit is known as one of the most polluted and dirty cities. And also, I mean, they've held the title for a long time. I think St. Louis overtook them a few years ago, but, most dangerous city. And it's like, I think, Amon-Ra St. it's kind of like the pot calling the kettle black. I mean, look, you reside in Detroit. Now, I understand a lot of NFL players, though, during the offseason, maybe go somewhere else, or they own multiple homes in multiple different parts of the country, or maybe even another country. So it's not like Amon-Ra St. is always in Detroit. I don't know how much he's actually there during the offseason, but it just seems a little bit strange to call out Kansas City like that, especially since who knows how much he's really because, okay, here's the thing. I'm assuming his take on Kansas City is from having to play there. Now, because the Lions obviously were in Kansas City actually at the beginning of the 2024 season, or 2023 season, I should say. I got my years mixed up. But anyway, you kind of wonder like how much of Kansas City he actually experienced, or if his only opinion of Kansas City is like the Truman Sports Complex in the surrounding area. Because, I mean, look,
I can get on board with that. If that is what Amon-Ra St. Brown's experience of Kansas City is the Truman Sports Complex, then yes, I apologize. He's just misinformed. He just doesn't know what the city's actually like. But I've been to Detroit, and I will say, people very, very nice. They've got some cool things to see. It's cool to walk around. I love the architecture. The pizza's great, way better than Chicago. Not trying to give Chicago a stray, but Detroit pizza, fantastic. But let's not act like Detroit is up here and Kansas City's down here.
Yes, I mean, like I had posted about it on Twitter, and I just said, I mean, it's a strange comment to make, given that you're in Detroit. Like in comparison to Detroit, I mean, like you said, Michael, Kansas City is like a paradise, and also like Detroit and I mean, both places get pretty brutal during the winter, but I think I'd rather spend my winter in Kansas City than Detroit.
Oh yeah, and like again, I mean, they've got their own problems going on, I mean, but like
also
again,
they play indoors too.
Yeah,
it's like, come on, man.
Yeah, and like I said, this is nothing against the city of Detroit. I actually enjoyed my experience in Detroit, but I enjoyed it for what it was. It was 3 days there, and it was also probably the best 3 days they've had collectively in, I don't know. I mean, you got to think how many people go to the NFL draft every year. They want their city to look good, and so they do a little bit of cleaning. They do make it look a little bit better and things more lively. I'm sure if I went on a random Tuesday and walked the streets of Detroit, I probably wouldn't be super happy. I probably wouldn't.
You probably wouldn't be here right now, Michael. You probably wouldn't be
I was
here
gonna say
right
I'd probably be on the street right now.
Yeah, I mean, look,
There would be no more KC Sports Report. He'd be dead.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Kansas City is necessarily all that. I mean, I've been there enough that I think I have pretty good take on the place, and I mean it's fine. I think there is an underrated amount of stuff to do, and also like Amon-Ra St. Brown just seems uneducated on the state of Missouri as a whole. Now, if you remain on the Kansas side, look, I can understand how it would get boring. There's just nothing over there.
Josh, this is where we draw the line. Don't do this. Don't do this to me.
But look, I mean, if you're in Missouri, you can. I mean, St. Louis is a couple hours away. There's things to do there. Lake of the Ozarks. I mean, that's a fun way to spend your weekends. So I don't know. I just think Amon-Ra St. Brown just doesn't know what he's talking about. He just hasn't been there enough.
No, and that's the thing. Like, as much shit as we're giving him right now, it's just like he's entitled to his opinion, and we're saying the same things about Detroit. Again, Detroit, it's got cool things to do, but I think if we all had a choice, like. I'm a pretty big homer when it comes to Kansas City. I think it's a great city. I like the atmosphere. I like the environment. I like the, kind of middle class, suburban, like area. For me, my kind of lifestyle, like that's what I like. But for someone that like needs something to go, I also covered the Super Bowl in Vegas. The Vegas was like just crack cocaine to me. Like, I couldn't even like comprehend. There were people smoking cigarettes and gambling at 5:30 in the morning for like not going to bed. And I was just like, okay, I can't even like comprehend this part of the human experience.
Well, so I guess a good question for you to kind of cap off this video is, I mean, and look, we might be a little bit biased here, but guys, it's the end of June. There's not a lot to talk about right now. But if you were an NFL free agent, Michael, and the money was the same, but your choice was between Detroit and Kansas City, where are you going?
Kansas City in a heartbeat. And if we just take the football aspect out of it, which, you wouldn't if you're an NFL free agent, but let's just take the geographical location. You're closer to Texas. You're closer to Chicago. You're closer to like, the South. A lot of these guys go back home, like to New Orleans and stuff like that. Like, I would rather be somewhere closer to home. And if you're going to Detroit, you're going to the north, like part of the United States, you're probably going to be freezing 8 months out of the year. Yeah. And it's just, I would rather, sign in Kansas City, but, obviously I'm biased. I'm KC Sports Report. So
yeah. And as someone that currently is living in the north, like I get so tired. It's not even just the cold, it's the wind. And I know the wind is bad in Detroit as well. I don't like the win. I choose Kansas City in a heartbeat.
Yeah. And listen, I think that, Amon-Ra St. Brown is allowed to have his beliefs, but his podcast,
He's
a lot of the
entitled
time,
to his wrong opinion.
yeah, he's entitled to having the wrong opinion. But it honestly just seems for the most part that his podcast is him just like saying a bunch of stuff, which I guess is what a podcast is, but it doesn't really seem
He
like there's
said,
much
I
thought
think
behind it.
really, if we're just being completely honest, he most likely said that because he was with Jalen Noel and he was just trying to give him some trouble.
Yeah, most likely. He also compared him to Sky Moore, which I think is even more offensive than the Kansas City Detroit comment.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, I know you wanted to touch on that. Yeah, I think that would be more offensive, calling out the city. No. Oh, I look like Sky Moore. Yeah, I think that would
Josh,
do me in.
Iowa State played at Arrowhead. They played KU. I'm pretty sure Jalen Noel balled out in that game. He had more yards at Arrowhead Stadium last year than Sky Moore did. Hold on, let me check that really quickly.
I think
I
you're
guarantee
right.
you that he did.
All you have to
Yeah,
do
he
is look,
had to have.
because Sky Moore didn't do anything last year, and then he went on IR.
Because that Iowa State,
He might have
game
more
was,
yards at Arrowhead than Sky Moore in his entire career, not even just last season.
In one game, he had a notable performance with 8 receptions for 167 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's got to be more than Sky Moore's had in his career.
That's more touchdowns.
Yep, that's true too. Wow. That's insane. Yeah, I would be very offended if I was Jalen Noel.
Wow. That might be the stat of the year right there. That was incredible.
That's crazy. And the fact that you were able to bring that to the audience's attention on a whim like that, that is incredible.
Oh, man. Any chance I get to just talk badly about Sky Moore, I just got to take it.
Yeah, it's almost too easy at this point. It's almost too easy. But anyway, guys, yeah, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this video topic there, but let us know your thoughts down in the comments below on Amon-Ra St. Brown's comments on Kansas City. There might be a lot of Kansas Cityans watching this video that agree with them, and look, I get it, but we're just comparing the two. So with all that being said, though, guys, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. Make sure you check out my work on showmefootball.com for more. You can follow me on Twitter at showmefb. And then before we sign off, Michael, where can the people find you?
You guys can find me on YouTube at KC Sports Report. We're like 15 subscribers away from 13,000. So if you're watching this video and you like the Kansas City supremacy, go subscribe.
There you guys have it. And Michael's stuff will all be in the description down below, as always. But that's all we got for this one. We'll see you all in the next one. And last but not least, go Chiefs.